Hey everyone, welcome back to Immediate Movie Reactions. I'm here after seeing all of you. This is a new Apple TV movie. It is also, maybe if you're lucky, in theaters near you, a movie that I was really looking forward to. Unfortunately, it's not playing anywhere near me. This is a Brett Goldstein movie, and I will start right out by saying that Brett Goldstein, he's kind of a hero of mine. Obviously, I love his podcast, Films to Be Buried With. Ted Lasso and Shrinking are two of my all-time favorite shows. Just every episode, emotion after emotion. I absolutely love them. So I was really looking forward to this. This is him and Imogen Poots. And the premise is that it's now, potentially somewhat in the future. Science has developed this test called the Connects test. If you take it, then it tells you who your soulmate is. Now, that doesn't really make sense because in order for it to be your soulmate, they would also had to have taken the test themselves, because if they didn't take the test themselves, then what is the point, right? Because then you're cutting out half of the people that you may be able to sell your product to. Of course, it does also raise the question of, can science pick your soulmate, right? Is there such a thing as a soulmate if it's all scientifically picked for you? It kind of delves into that idea a little bit, not as much as maybe I would have liked, but really what this is Brett Goldstein plays Simon, and his best friend is Imogen Poots, Laura, and they are best friends from uni. Everyone that they know has taken the test, and they've all fallen in love and gotten married, and they're the last of their crew that are still together. They've been friends through everything else. Obviously, right? We know where this is going. They are in love with each other, at least he's in love with her. It doesn't really shy away from that. Not spoiling anything. She takes the test and meets someone else. Through that, she gets married, and there's some kind of weird time jumps, and you have to follow the storyline a little bit just by the clues that they drop, because it doesn't do the whole 3 months later, 6 months later, 1 year later, whatever. You're kind of looking at the kid, how the age of the kid, or her being pregnant, or his facial hair growth, or whatever it might be, who he might be dating at that time, as it kind of jumps around where he's still clearly in love with her. And then the problem that I had with the movie starts, because this idea that she's in love with someone else, but we know that we're supposed to be rooting for them to be together, because that's the goddamn movie. That's what this is all about. This is the Jim and Pam, right? This is the problem with movies like this for me, is if these two really are supposed to be together, if they're destined to be together, then that means that the other people that they're around are going to be hurt, right? And Imogen Boots, Laura, she's really unlikable. She's really difficult to root for. Obviously, spoiler, they end up having an affair because they decide that they are in love with each other. So they're whisking away weekend after weekend over at least a year, probably more. We can only tell that because the husband, who is a good guy, right? She says she's in love with him. He does everything. He's home taking care of the kid while she's out walking on the beach in this sort of Anakin and Padme storyline, and just having the time of their lives. And she's out, trying to get drunk and score Molly. He's home taking care of the kid. And her overall guilt just never really quite comes across, because she keeps going back to him and he keeps going to her. And this whole situation develops where you're supposed to be rooting for two people that are just in an affair. That's all it is. And I never felt a real emotion or connection. I didn't want them to end up together. I thought that they were doing the wrong thing. If they had maybe been honest with whoever they were with at the start of the movie and hadn't gotten this far, and I get the whole, this is the conundrum, right? This is the puzzle. This is what they're trying to figure out. This, we made the mistake, but I didn't make a mistake because I do love my husband. And Brett Goldstein, I can't love anyone else except for you. I don't know how to love anyone else. Like, there's all sorts of, quotable rom-com type. There's some funny moments. I wouldn't necessarily say that this is a rom-com. I think it is pretty serious for most of it. But again, the problem is I'm sitting here, on the couch with my wife, and this whole test is there. And like, what if you're supposed to be with someone else, or you think you're supposed to be with someone else, but you've got this fan? It's all just an absolute mess. And I didn't like either of them. I didn't want to root for them. I didn't feel any emotions for them other than just kind of anger and I don't know, bewilderment as to how they got away with all of this. And then I don't know about, I'm not going to give away any sort of ending, right? But how it all wraps up is just kind of like, oh, okay, I guess that's happening. I don't know. Um, Boy, I really, really wanted to like this film, but I can't say that I loved it. I think that there are better films. There's a film with Daniel Radcliffe. Oh my gosh, friends. I can't remember what it is. Same sort of thing. He gets friend zoned by someone he's supposed to love, and they end up together. That's a great movie. That one I really enjoyed because I saw the agony that they were, he was going through. This just felt so melodramatic and overdrawn, and I didn't find it interesting or sexy or romantic or anything. I just felt like, man, these people are kind of assholes as they're using everyone around them to get what they wanted. And that's where we are. And I felt really terrible about that. It's weird to dislike. I didn't really enjoy the film. It, Directorially, it's okay. It's fine. This is the first director. This is a first-time director. The director Will Bridges, I believe his name is, wrote this with Brett Goldstein. This is their first movie. They spent a long time making it. They talked about it a lot on the podcast, so I appreciate that. Um, but I don't think it's great. I think there's a lot of odd jumps. There's some weird camera angles where it feels like they're like, hey, this is the only film I'm gonna get a chance to make, so I'm gonna have to do this sort of artistic shot of him swimming in underwater, and that didn't really quite make sense. There's just some odd angles and some strange choices. I know, listening to the pod again, there were some times where they filmed something and it didn't quite work for whatever the location was, or whatever happened. So they had to make some other choices, but maybe those weren't the right choices. I think it's a fine film. It's okay. I would not rush out to see this. I don't even know if it's going to be anywhere here in the United States. It is on Apple TV, so if you've got Apple TV, it's free to watch. I'm not an Apple fan. I'm not going to stand here and support and all that sort of thing. However, it's got Ted Lasso and it's got Shrinking, and they're both absolutely fucking amazing. I think anyone would enjoy and be able to watch those. But this, I don't think that this is it. You've got it. It's short, so if you've got an hour and a half and you've got some time to sit down, that's fine. But this is definitely a stream it movie. I'm gonna give it a 5 again, just because I couldn't root for who you're supposed to be rooting for in this film, and that's the problem. Anyways, there we are. Thank you. I was supposed to say this at the beginning. I said to myself, I'm going to say it at the beginning. I always forget. So here we are. Please like, share, subscribe. It really, really helps. I appreciate it. And I will see you all in the next movie.